All right. So the topic is quadratic equations, and then there are several methods of solving quadratic equations. But however, we shall um, concentrate on one particular method, which is the formula method today. But then there are several methods of solving the quadratic equations, as you must be well aware. So methods of solving. So now we're trying to the methods you can employ when you're trying to solve quadratic equations. The method you can employ when you're solving is one of such method is the formula method, which is what I said we'll concentrate on. This formula method, that's what most people call the almighty formula. So it's the formula method, factorization method. There is a factorization method, then completing the square, completing the square method. So this completing the square method, the formula method is actually better from the completing the square method. Yeah. Then there's a graphical method as well. There's a graphical method of solving quadratic equations. But then we'll just concentrate today on the formula method. The reason we are concentrating on the formula method is because the formula method is non-selective. Yeah, the formula method is non-selective. Factorization method can only, solve quadratic equations that are when the terms are factorizable. So there are some quadratic equations that the terms are not factorizable. So to if it happens to solve one of such where the terms are not factorizable, you see that you begin to crack your head for a very long time, and you still won't be able to um, get a hold of the results, the accurate results, so to say. But the formula method is non-selective. That is to say, that is the reason they call it the almighty formula. That's the reason they gave it that name, because there is no quadratic equation it will not be able to solve. So it is unlike the factorization method. And like I told you, this formula method is better from the completing the square method. So that is to say that the completing the square method is the same thing as the formula method, just in different forms. So the completing the square method of um, quadratic equation as well. So the both of them, completing the square and formula method, to use when you're attempting to solve a quadratic equation because they are non-selective. The factorization method is faster, but that is if the question is one that is factorizable. If it isn't, then you will not be able to use the factorization method. So do you guys understand what I'm saying? How many persons are here? Winner, you're still the only one here. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. So we'll look at the formula method here. So the general form of a quadratic equation, the general form of a quadratic equation is A s to the power of 2 plus bs plus c equals to 0. So this is a general form of a quadratic equation. Remember, a quadratic equation has the highest power of 2. A quadratic equation cannot have a power that is greater than 2. The highest power it can have is 2. That's to the power of 2. So here in the general form of the quadratic equation is this. So this one here, the coefficient of s square, that's what we call the a. The coefficient of s square, that's the coefficient means the number that is attached to s square, that number that is at the back of s square, that is the a. Then the b is the number that is at the back of s, ordinary s, that's the coefficient of s, that's the b. While c is that last number, it is a constant, that last number that doesn't carry s. So what I'm trying to say is that maybe you have, for instance, maybe you have 5s to the power of 2 plus 7s minus 18, for instance, equals 0. So in a question like this, to identify the A, B, and C, yeah, the A is this the A is this number you see at the back of S square. That is your A. Because you can see in the general form, it says that number at the back of S square. That is the A. Then the B is that number here that is behind the S. That's B. So this is B. Then while the C is this number um minus 18. That number without the letter, without any letter. That is the C. So 5s to the power of 2 plus 7s minus 18. The number behind s squared is A. The number behind s is B. The number behind the C is the number without any letter. That's minus 18. So if we were to write out what we have here, we would say that A is equals to 5, B is equals to 7, and C is equals to minus 18. So this is what we would say. Then the formula method is a formula on its own, but we just had to talk about how to identify the A, B, and C first. The formula method is given as S is equals to minus B plus or minus the square root of B square and B to the power of 2 minus 4AC all over 2A. So this is all you have to know for the formula that you'll be using if you seek to use the formula method. Formula is S is equals to minus B plus or minus the square root of B to the power of 2 minus 4AC over 2A. Now you can see A, B, and C within the formula. So that's the reason we're trying to identify what A is, what B is, what C is, how to identify them, how to get those values. Please remember, A is not just the number. Let's say, look at this now. So sometimes you might have maybe this is 6s plus 7 plus um, s to the power of 2, for instance. So A is not just the first one, B is the second one, and C is the last one. No. If you have something like this, for instance, your A is still the number that is attached to s to the power of 2. You can see it here. Look at the form. Look at the general form. AS squared plus BS plus C equals to 0. So A is that number that is attached to your S squared. So wherever your S squared is, the number attached to it, that is the A. The number attached to the S, that is the B. The number attached to this, the last number without a letter, that is the C. So if you imagine, if you're having a question like this, some students probably out of maybe anxiety or tension or whatever during the exam or during the while they're practicing, they would say that A is the sixth, B is the next one, and C is the last one. No, that's not how it's done. A must be the one that is attached to the S to the power of 2, as you can see here. A has to be the one that is attached to S to the power of 2. B is the one that is attached to ordinary S, and C is the one without any number. So here, if you are to do this, you might decide to rearrange first. You might decide to rearrange first, but if you become very good at it, you don't have to rearrange. You can just, pick them out directly. So if you have to rearrange first, to the one with the square, you want to write it first. The one with ordinary S second. The one without S last. That's the third. So if you want to do it this way, that's still fine. But make sure you don't just pick whatever you see at the first, second, and third as A, B, C. No. The one attached to S to the power of 2 is the A. The one attached to S is the B. While the C is the constant, that's C, the one without any letter. So here, if you look at this S to the power of 2, there is no number at the back. There is no coefficient ordinarily when you look at this. So since there is no number there, then obviously there is a 1 there. That's 1S. There is no number at the back of the S squared, no coefficient there, but there is a 1, an invisible one. So if you want to do this, that means you say that your A is equals to 1, since obviously 1 has to be there. Then your B is equals to 6, your C is equals to 7. Don't forget, when you're working, always take the number together with them. Take the number together with each sign. If you look at this one I did at the top here, where was it? Okay. If you look at this one I did here, you see that C was minus 18. So I did not just write 18. When you're picking numbers, always pick the number together with the sign. This one here, A was 5, that's plus 5, which is same as 5. B was 7, which we have there. C, the constant, is minus 18. Most students forget, they just pick the number without the sign. Every number carries a sign. Every number carries a sign, and the sign is that which comes before the number. So that minus there belongs to 18. That's why I said C is equals to minus 18. Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? Winner, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
All right. Lucas, you're welcome. Okay, so yeah, so now here we have A as 1, B as 6, and this C as 7, as you can see. Then we don't seem to here we're just saying how to get those values. So let's look at an example how we can use the formula method to solve an equation. So let's say example here. So example solve um s to the power of 2 minus 5s plus 6. equals to 0. S to the power of 2 minus 5s plus 6 equals to 0. So if we are to use the formula method, which like we said, although this question is factorizable, but since we're looking at the formula method, we can just quickly use that and see what results we would have. Like I told you, the factorization method would be faster, but students usually make errors while they use it, and like I said, it's not all questions you can solve. But you see, this formula method, it's very straightforward, and most students will always prefer it after they are done learning it. They always prefer to use this. So before we start solving here, we would have to identify the A, the B, and the C. Do not forget, the A is the one, the coefficient of s to the power of 2, or whatever the letter is. The B is the coefficient of s, and the C is the one without an s. That is the constant. So here we identify A to be, what would be the value of A here? We now Lucas, what would be the value of A here?
X squared.
Alright, A isn't s squared. Lucas, you're just coming, so understandable. Winner, can you hear me? Winner, are you still here? Alright, so Lucas, I don't think Winner can hear us. Winner and Lucas, A
Yes,
is,
sir.
look at where we started from. This is the general form of the quadratic
Yes,
equation.
sir.
Alright, Winner, I was asking what's the A here in this question? What is A in this example that we're looking at? S squared minus 5s plus 6 equals to 0. What is A? Sorry?
A is 1.
Okay, so A is equals to 1. Lucas, let me quickly,
A is
Lucas,
1.
we're saying that A is the number that's attached to S squared. Yes, winner, thank you. I got that. Thank you. Lucas, so we said A is the number, look at the form here, the general form of the quadratic equation. We said A is the number attached to S squared, B is the number attached to S, and C is a constant, the one without S at all. So in this example, we said A is 5, B is 7, and C is minus 18. So we also went further to say, don't just pick A as the first thing you see, B as the second, and C as the third. That's why we wrote this one. That when you have a question like this, don't just say A is 6. No, A is not just the first number you have there. A must be the coefficient. That's the number attached to S squared. So anywhere your S square is, you have to get the coefficient there. That's why here we said we have to rearrange it first. Let S square come first, the one with S second, the one without S third, because that's the general form. That's how it is: AS squared plus BS plus C. Then doing that, whatever is now attached to S squared at the back of S squared, that is the value of A. So say that ordinary S square we have there's a 1 there, so A is 1. In this one, B is 6, C is 7. So now in this our example, we now said that A is 1, which is correct. Then Lucas, now what is B?
B is 5.
B isn't 5. That is minus 5, not
Oh,
5.
minus 5.
That
Sorry.
minus there, yes. So that minus there has to move together with the 5 because the minus belongs to the 5. It's minus 5. While C is 6. So this is your A, B, and C. Now, after having the A, B, and C, the next step is that we'll have to impute these values, like you're substituting actually. You substitute these values into the formula that you are using, and the formula says S is equals to minus B plus or minus square root of B squared minus 4AC over 2A. Yeah, so this is what you're doing. This is the formula you're using. So you're now expected to substitute these values of your A, your B, and your C. Substitute them into this equation, um, yeah, into the formula rather. When you substitute them into the formula, then you know will subsequently be able to see what to do. All right, so we are starting the substitution now. I'll have that I'll have that S is equals to minus B, that's minus. Then now B carries a minus because B is minus 5. In the formula, it says minus B. And now your B carries a minus. That's your B is minus 5. So this is minus bracket minus 5 because the formula says minus B. So that minus in the formula is there. Then your B is now carrying a negative. In this particular question, it's a negative 5. So that's why I wrote brackets minus 5 there. Do you guys understand why those two minuses are there?
Yes, bro.
Okay. All right. Winner, do you understand? Okay. So there you have S is equals to minus bracket minus 5 plus or minus and the square root of B square. B square and B is minus 5. So minus 5 square. That's your B square.
Yes,
Then
sir.
minus. Okay. Then minus 4 times A is 1 times C is 6. So you see there minus B, that's minus bracket minus 5 plus or minus square root of B square, and B is minus 5, so minus 5 square minus 4AC, that's open a bracket 4 times A times C, that's 4 times 1 times 6 there. Then all over 2A, so all over 2 times A is 1, all over 2 times 1. When you're done with this, then it says that S is equals to minus times minus becomes positive. Yeah, that minus bracket minus 5 minus times minus becomes positive. So this is positive 5 plus or minus. Then here, most students they make a mistake when they are finding the square of a negative number. When you're looking for the square of a negative number, because most students on your calculator, you punch minus 5 to the power of 2. Your calculator will give you minus 25. When you punch minus 5 to the power of 2, that's you do something like this. You do something like this in your calculator. Your calculator obviously will give you minus 25 as the answer, but this minus 25 is wrong. So if you want to get the power and to the power of 2 of, you should rather say minus 5 to the power of 2 because it is minus 5 that you're squaring to the power of 2. And you see that your calculator will give you 25, which is the correct answer. But when you do the first one, it is only the 5 that the calculator will um, get the power of. And that's why you still have a minus 5 and minus 25. So basically, this is what you're doing. Minus 5 to the power of 2 means minus 5 times minus 5. And of course, you know that these two minuses, um, you know that these two, you know that these two minuses When they multiply themselves, it becomes positive. Then 5 times 5 is 25. So you can see it's a positive 25. So you guys take note in case you're using your calculator, and when you're using your calculator, so you don't make this error. So when you find the power, that's the power to the power of 2 of any negative number, the results you're supposed to have should be positive. That's any negative number to the power of 2. The result should be positive. Take note of that. Students make that mistake a lot. So coming back here, we have the minus 5 to the power of 2. Minus 5 to the power of 2 is 25. Yeah. So we have 25 here minus 4 times 1 times 6. That's 24. Minus 24 over at the bottom 2 times 1. That's 2. Proceeding, we'll have that s is equals to 5 plus or minus 25 minus 24. That's 1. So square root of 1 over 2. Square root of 1 over 2. Then, of course, we all know that the square root of 1 should be 1. So square root of 1 is 1 over 2. So now we've gotten s is equal to 5 plus or minus 1 over 2. When you get to this stage, when you get to this stage, you would have to separate them now, because plus or minus. So you take one part separately and the other separately as well. So here you have s is equals to 5 plus 1 over 2, or s is equals to 5 minus 1 over 2, because it's a quadratic equation. Of course, you have two answers. So you having those two answers, that's where the plus or minus comes in. Because for your level, when you're looking for the root of any number, it's always plus or minus. That's why in the formula you see the plus or minus behind the root. That's it. So when you get to this stage where you have s equals 5 plus or minus 1 over 2, you separate them, one side plus, one side minus. So you say 5 plus 1 over 2, or 5 minus 1 over 2. That's what you do. And then here you have s is equals to 5 plus 1 is 6, 6 over 2, or s is equals to 5 minus 1 is 4, so 4 over 2. And lastly, s is equals to 6 divided by 2 would be 3, or s equals 4 divided by 2 would be 2. So the value of s in this quadratic equation is the value of s in the quadratic equation is s equals 3, or s equals 2. Do you guys understand this? Okay. Winner, what about you? Do you understand this? Efosa, you're welcome. You're just joining. All right. So basically, that's that. Do you guys understand? Lucas, yeah, I saw that. I don't know. I do not know. Efosa, I think it's just coming. Winner, do you understand this? Oh, Winner has gone off. Okay, so that's just one example, though. So let's look at example 2. Let's look at example 2. think we'll just be able to finish this before time expires. So example 2. In example 2, let's say we are to solve 2x to the power of 2 minus 3x minus 5. So 2x to the power of 2 minus 3x minus 5 equals to 0. So 2x to the power of 2 minus 3x minus 5 equals to 0. So again, you would have to identify your A, B, and C. That's the first step to take. Identify your A, B, and C. So here the A is 2, the B is minus 3, and the C is minus 5. The A is 2, the B is minus 3, and the C is minus 5. That's what you have there. So I know in
So,
example 1, yeah, you have
sorry,
a question.
will it always be equals to 0?
Yes, that's a general form of a quadratic equation. It always equals to 0. In a situation where it is not equals to 0, you have to rearrange. This is how it is. As squared plus bs plus c equals to 0. That's how a quadratic equation should look like.
Okay.
Equals to 0. So because it has this question, we'll have to deviate a bit. Because you ask the question, we'll have to deviate a bit. Let me just write something here. In a situation where it is not equals to 0, maybe you have 3s to the power of you have 3s to the power of 2 plus let's say 8s equals to 10. So you can see that it's not equals to 0. Okay, I'll let you say equals to 12. Equals to 12. So you can see that it is not equals to 0. So now that it is not equals to 0, you cannot pick your A, B, and C like this. It must be equals to 0 before you pick your A, B, and C. If it's not equals to 0, don't make the mistake of picking your A, B, and C. Although here you can pick your A and B, but the C you cannot. Looking at it, you might think that your C is 12, but your C isn't 12. Your C should be minus 12. And why is it like that? Because it is not equals to 0 yet. So for you to do that, you have to rearrange. When you rearrange this, you have 3s to the power of 2 plus 8s. Then you now carry that 12 that is at the right hand side. You will move it over to the left hand side and it will change to minus 12. Then equals to nothing will remain in the right hand side anymore. Nothing will remain there. That nothing that will remain there is 0 equals to 0. So until you make it become this way, until you make it look this way, do not pick your A, B, C. You can just look at this now. If you had picked your C from the first stage when 12 was at the other side, your C would have been 12. But now look at the actual value of C. C is not 12, C is minus 12. So take notes, it must be equals to 0 before you pick your A, B, and C. And don't forget, it is not that whatever comes first is the A, the second one is B, the third one is the C. No, the A must be the number that is attached to the one with square. The B must be the number that is attached to the one without square, the ordinary letter. While the C is a constant, the C must be the one that does not have any letter at all. And please make sure that everything are in one place equals to 0 before you pick that A, B, C. Do you guys understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here it is. Okay, so I'll just take this off and go back to the question that we're doing. So here it was already equals to 0. So I was able to just pick my A, B, C directly. A is 2, B is minus 3, C is minus 5. Example 1, B was also a negative number. So it's not always like that. It depends on what you have. Each B is positive here. Can be positive, can be negative. So it's just a coincidence that these two examples, B are negative. So this is the first step to take. Pick out your A, B, and C. Then you can now come here and substitute into your formula. Your formula says minus B plus or minus square root of B squared minus 4AC over 2A. Always write out the formula you want to use to solve anything. It gives you mark. In mathematics, in your WAEC, in your external exams, they don't mark the answer alone. The answer doesn't carry more than 2 marks, at most 3 marks. That's at most. That means the question must be a very long one. The marks there must be very high for that question. Otherwise, what actually gives you mark is your working, your solving, the steps that you're taking. So when you write out a formula that you're supposed to use in solving a particular stuff, that carries a mark on its own. So you would notice that I always write out formulas first before I start solving the formula I want to use. That's because I'm trying to accumulate maths already, because that's what they look at. Okay, and this is the formula we're using, and then substituting, say S equals minus, now B minus B minus, then B carries a negative 3. So B is negative 3. So that here we now have to say S equals minus bracket minus 3, because that's in the formula say minus B minus, then B itself is minus 3. So that's minus bracket minus 3. Then plus or minus square root of B squared, that's minus 3 squared. I already explained to you guys how to use that on your calculator so you don't have the wrong answer. Minus 3 squared, then minus 4 times A is 2 times C. Our C is minus 5, so times minus 5 all over 2 times 2. 2A. A is 2, you can see it there. A is 2, so all over 2 times 2. Let me Okay, then if we continue, we'll have that S is equals to minus times minus, that gives you positive 3 plus or minus 3 to the power of 2 is 9, not minus 9. We've talked about that before. Not minus 9. Because when you punch your calculator minus 3 squared, it gives you minus 9. That's because you didn't put the minus 3 in a bracket before you put the square out. So we talked about that. So minus 3 to the power of 2 is 9. Then minus 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times minus 5 is minus 40. They have that there over at the bottom. 2 times 2 is 4. Then again proceeding, you have S is equal to 3 plus or minus. At this place, you see that 9 minus minus 40. So those two minuses, then minus minus changes to plus. So that's 9 plus 40. 9 plus 40 is 49 over 4. So minus minus there changes to plus. That's like 9 plus 40, 49 over 4. Then almost here now. Say S is equals to 3 plus or minus. The square root of 49 is 7. So 3 plus or minus 7 over 4. Then, like we've talked about before, once you get to this stage, you can now separate them. You share them in two pairs. You separate them. So the first one would be S is equals to 3 plus 7 over 4, or S is equals to 3 minus 7 over 4. And then in this, the first one, 3 plus 7 is 10. So have S equals 10 over 4, or 3 minus 7 is minus 4 over 4. Then lastly, if you are to divide this completely, you have that S is equals, when 2 goes into that, you have 5 over 2, or S is equals 4 divided 4, and this you have minus 1. So this is the resource that you get for that question. You have that S is equals to 5 over 2, or S is equals to minus 1. So this is basically how to utilize the formula method. And like I said, most of you were not here at the onset of the class, so said a lot. But if you go through the video, you would then be able to get every single thing that we've done so far. So like I've said, the formula method is the best method that you could use in solving quadratic equations, although the factorization method is shorter, but the factorization method is selective. So the factorization method, there are some questions it cannot solve. That's because there some questions are not factorizable. But this formula method, that's why you guys usually call it the almighty formula. It is they nicknamed it the almighty formula because there is no quadratic equation that it cannot solve. So it is non-selective. So from experience, most students prefer to use it since it is non-selective and it is straightforward. All you have to do is successfully and then correctly get your A, B, and C, and you know the formula, impute those values into the formula, and then that's all. So it is non-selective. So this is the formula method of solving quadratic equations. And then this is how we come to the end of today's class. Next time, we shall go further and look at simultaneous linear and quadratic equations. That's a combination of three equations, which of course you know it's a must. A short question you should expect in your the exam you're preparing for. It is a compulsory question. There's no way you can escape it. That's simultaneous linear and quadratic equations. So so far most of you were late, so you might not understand some of the things you've done, except you have a previous knowledge on it, and that would be fine. But just go through the video and then you get up to speed from there. It's very clear the whole stuff we've done so far. Does anyone have a question to ask? All right, so in the absence of any question, we'll end the class here. All right, we now, yeah, see you. In the absence of any question, we'll end the class here. So until Thursday, take care of yourself and be safe.